This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is, and I'm glad to see you here as we kick off another great big day here on the program, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom right here in the heart of America. Who do you want in your foxhole when it matters? Who do you want in your foxhole? All right, we're burning daylight. It's time to get to it here today. Here are three big things you need to kick off this hour. Number one, 14,000 would-be illegal aliens have decided to give in and turn around. That's in response to secure borders provided by the president and his team. Remarkable. 14,000 saying, yeah, we're not going to do it. Number two, President Trump announced a military strike on a narco terrorist from Venezuela. The video is remarkable. All 11 incinerated on a boat in the blink of an eye. Trump wants an end to drug cartels. And number three, but for Democrats, crime is just fine. Crime's fine. In fact, they're campaigning on everything is just fine. Nothing to see in America's shooting galleries, better known as the big cities here. Don't worry about that. But that simply won't do for the man in the White House. It will not do. President Trump is officially promising to clean up the streets of Chicago after another violent weekend. He writes on Truth Social, quote, at least 54 people shot in Chicago over the weekend, 8 people killed. Now, I had higher numbers. I had 61 shot, 11 killed. Does it matter? The Governor Pritzker needs help badly. He just doesn't know it. I will solve the crime problem fast, just like I did in Chicago. Chicago will be safe again and soon, wrote Trump. Trump says he's no longer waiting on permission, in fact. Here's what he said yesterday.
Lined up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country.
Now, one of those injured was a teenage girl who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, struck by a stray bullet. It's tragic. And it should be common sense that the Windy City needs some help. They've led the nation in homicides for more than a dozen years. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says it's just business as usual. He wants to focus on fighting President Trump instead of fighting crime on the streets of his state. Here he is.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
No. That's a lie again. It's a red herring. And that fat ass wouldn't get his ass on the train at midnight or 9 o'clock at night. The L is dangerous. His tub of guts wouldn't be on there. Talk about sucking all the hope out of the room. Oh, we have crime. It's the way it is. No, it's not the way it has to be. Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., now teaming up with Donald Trump because she sees that it's working. And if Chicago's leaders just listened to the residents in their own city, they'd realize that this is not what the people of Chicago want to hear. Here's a sample.
It's just gone from bad to worse to disaster.
No one really feels safe. It's impossible to feel safe in a city like this, especially with the leadership we have.
These kids are carrying guns like around the ages of 8 years old, and they're killing other 8-year-old kids with guns. It's insane.
My opinion, not enough police officers. The police officers' hands are tied.
So the police is really unappreciative for offhand under Brandon Johnson, Lori Lightfoot, J.B. Pritzker. Those are three are the reason why nobody want to be a police.
Their policies when it comes to crime is not working at all.
Yeah, not working at all. Law-abiding Chicago citizens deserve peace and safety. Law-breaking Chicagoans deserve to suffer the consequences, and Chicago's police department deserves a helping hand. The city's department has one of the lowest clearance rates for crime in the country. resolving fewer reported crimes than pretty much anybody else. But leave it to the deranged Democrats to make this a partisan issue. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson is even going so far as to sign an executive order ordering city officials and law enforcement, don't work with the federal forces that want to make our city safe. Don't you dare do it. Here he is.
I'm signing an executive order today that will launch the Protecting Chicago initiative. This is a project that builds on the months of preparation that we have done that has led up to this very moment. Protecting Chicago will ensure that every Chicagoan knows their rights, that every single family is prepared, and every part of city government is directed to protect the people of Chicago from federal action. This sweeping executive order directs our Department of Law to pursue any and every legal mechanism to hold this administration accountable for violating the rights of Chicagoans. This order affirms that the Chicago Police Department will not collaborate with military personnel on police patrols or civil immigration enforcement.
He signed this over the weekend. While his people, the residents of Chicago, were getting gunned down by the dozen and dying in the streets. He's asking an overworked police force that is nearly 1,500 members short of what it should be to refuse the help they desperately need. And that is insane, because it's a collaboration that we already know works. The National Guard deployed to D.C. 3 weeks ago. Since that time, through last night, there had been exactly 2 homicides in the nation's capital. 2 in 22 days. That's after D.C. was averaging double-digit homicides every month before the deployment. It appears that during that same time span, for comparison, Chicago had at least 32 murders, maybe more, dozens of shootings, including numerous mass shootings. That's just from what we know. Who knows how many more incidents go unreported? So by the math, Chicago's streets are seeing people killed 16 times faster than D.C. 16 to 1 over the last, 22 days. Yet we've got Representative Jamie Raskin out here claiming that the deployment is nothing but performative. Performative. Listen to this fool.
So we're saying, one, there's no emergency. Second, even if there'd been an emergency, there's no power that the president has within the statute to take over the police department. This is a bunch of performative political actions that are designed for completely PR purposes.
Performative actions that Americans like. 2 homicides in 22 days in D.C. 32 homicides in the same time period in Chicago. 16 to 1. The number of murders in the nation's capital compared to Chicago. Chicago is killing people at a ridiculous rate. We'll continue after the break. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, back at it now. Look, the crime in... I had somebody write me a note here. You don't need to talk about Chicago. Why nobody cares about Chicago. I do. It's a great American city. It's a great American city, and I'm not just going to say, oh, too bad Chicago's lost. No. I will not do that. Not to any great city in America. They deserve better. They are our fellow citizens that are held hostage by crime and violence every single day. And if you think I'm going to sit here and say, well, that's okay, we don't care about Chicago, I do. And every other major city in America, and every small town too, and everything in between. So if you don't like the fact that I'm covering the violence in Chicago and the fact that it needs to be stopped, and Baltimore, and Cleveland, and Los Angeles, well, then you're just out to lunch. This matters to all Americans. Crime in American cities matters to the country. New York City is a fabulous city. It needs to be cleaned up. Get the homeless off the streets. Look at the homeless encampments that are gone from the city of Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro has slammed Jamie Raskin, by the way, who you heard before the break, for completely misunderstanding the law. Quite the embarrassment considering he's supposed to be writing laws, she says. But the liberals can get even more embarrassing, like Chicago Alderman Byron Lopez, who calls the use of federal forces violence. That makes matters even worse. Really makes matters worse. Listen.
Well, we have a very direct response to the Trump regime because this cannot be considered administration. This is a regime that is trying to solve critical and chronic problems, as I heard the governor, with more violence, with deployment of military forces that have proven, in the case of LA, to just escalate and make matter worse.
Yeah, just escalated so much in D.C. they've had 2 murders in 3 weeks. The update actually is a 3rd person has died. I stand corrected. 3 people now in 25 days. 3 murders in 25 days. 3 people in close to a month. These people are not serious. 54 people shot on the streets of Chicago by conservative estimates. 8 of them dead. Other estimates say 61 shot, 11 of them dead. That's violence. How could law enforcement possibly make matters worse? These people are insane. Another Chicago alderman, Raymond Lopez, could maybe knock some sense into the rest of them. Here's his take after the weekend.
As we've seen multiple mass shootings here in the city of Chicago, over 50 victims of gun violence, several people dead. You know, we've made the best argument for Donald Trump to say that action is necessary right now. As we've seen.
Yeah. You know, it's bad, by the way, when even Joe Scarborough, that guy, over on MSLSD, thinks that Chicago's leaders are doing the wrong thing by ignoring Trump's offers to help. Watch the rest of the panel completely speechless over the fact that Joe is taking President Trump's side, rightfully, in fact. Here it is.
Well, my concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this, as you say. We've been reading about this for years now, every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, you know, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, oh, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers. You know, I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, you know, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president. Right now, just hey, nothing to see here moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, you know, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. Well, protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity. Well, my concern.
Yeah, keep them alive. That's a good place to start. What about the economic toll? Chicago's violence driving business away. Tourism down 15% this summer alone, per the local Chamber of Commerce. Restaurants, shops, affected areas closing, costing jobs and tax revenue, money that could better be spent for policing. Trump's plan could reverse all of this, but Pritzker's refusal to cooperate risks making the city's wounds deeper. A 2023 Chicago Tribune report pegs the cost of gun violence $2.5 billion annually as jobs leave. The South Side neighborhoods like Englewood have lost 44% of their black population since 2000. These families are like, we got to get the hell out of here. Downtown's not immune either. Tourism dropped 15 to 20% this summer. Again, Chamber of Commerce from the Chicagoland. It's a murder capital. Nobody wants to be there, and stricter gun laws aren't the answer. Illinois ranks third for strict gun control laws. Chicago enforces even more bans and requires more paperwork for gun ownership than the state does. The ATF has concentrated its efforts in the murder capital for years. It's led the nation in killing for 13 years in a row. Schools are seeing record absenteeism. Parents fear sending kids because of gunfire. It's not just a crime issue. It's an economic issue. It's an education issue. Long-term consequences. It just doesn't end, folks. Look, in order to make America great, you need to make Chicago great. You need to make D.C. great. You need to make New York great. You need to pick up the phone, Governor, and call the president. That's what you need to do. To make America great, American cities have to be great too. We cannot give up on them. Did you know that American homeowners nationwide have $32 trillion in equity, and cyber criminals are targeting it with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing? House alarms, doorbell cameras, deadbolts. It doesn't work against these folks. Look, they're there to steal your money, not your stuff. It's the equity in your home. If your title isn't being monitored in this day and age when everything's interconnected, Scammers can transfer the title out of your name, and then they start taking loans against that money that you've put there paying your mortgage for years. And if you really get screwed, you could lose the house altogether when they sell it. Behind your back, you don't even know it until the letters show up in your mailbox. The best way to protect your equity is with triple lock protection from Home Title Lock. It's 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, and God forbid, if the worst happens, restoration services, no out-of-cost to you. You can check on your home's title today. Make sure you're not a victim. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. Have peace of mind. And you get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of the multi-million-dollar triple lock protection program. So go to HometitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber. They'll give you $1 million to fix the problem if it ever happens. HometitleLock.com. Promo code Gruber. Back after this.